I stayed in Ajahn Yantra's monastery for, I think, 2 weeks, and I found that he was too famous. Too many monks and people, lay people, were coming and going. So I left and I went to look up at old Teochew Thai monk who had been in Malaysia for 20 over years and whom I met before. And then he brought me to ordain, because he told me at that time, if you wear Theravada robes and you don't ordain as a Theravada monk, you'll be found out and you'll be accused of being a false monk. So I took the Theravada ordination. Then I stayed 3 months with him in a cave monastery. And after that I decided to go to Wat Pah Nana Chat, because in America I had met this Ajahn Passano, and he had encouraged me to go to Wat Pah Nana Chat. So I went to Wat Pah Nana Chat, and I spent my first vasa in Wat Pah Nana Chat. And in Wat Pah Nana Chat they have a very good library, so I studied the teachings, Theravada teachings in Wat Pah Nana Chat. Then I realized there's a lot of contradiction between Mahayana and Theravada. And then on reflecting again, I found that even Mahayana teachings themselves have this contradiction. Then I was utterly disgusted. I felt cheated. I spent 9 years in Mahayana Buddhism and all that was all wasted. So I decided when I come back to Malaysia, I'd write books to expose. So I spent the first vasa, and after that Ajahn Passano invited me to stay on, but then I had already made arrangements to go on tudong with an old Thai monk. So I went on tudong for a few weeks with a Thai monk, and I came back to Malaysia. So the whole of 1986 I spent in Thailand. When I came back to Malaysia, I went to Ipoh to look for a cave to stay. And eventually I found a dark cave. I stayed for 4.5 months. That was an interesting cave because it was so dark, and when I was young I had this fear of the darkness because my parents had brought me to see ghost films. So I had this natural fear of dark. But then when I went to this cave, there was this entrance where you had to kind of go a bit low to get in. And the other side there was another opening, but it was surrounded by a lot of bushes, so it was not easily accessible. And there was an old couple who used to go through this cave, go to the other end and plant vegetables there. So because this cave was extremely dark and it was quite big, bigger than a tennis court. So I went to the other end and I found a ledge, a flat ledge on the outside, and I slept there. I wanted to go into the cave, but I was fearful. So I slept for 2 nights on the ledge outside this cave, and strangely enough, on the second night I had a strange dream. I dreamt that this hill, of which this cave was underneath, there were about 5 devas who resided on this hill, and they were curious, who was this guy sleeping here? And they beckoned me to come, asked me to come. So I went into their presence. About 4 of them were standing. The leader was seated on a chair. I looked at them. They were very majestic, very awesome. They were like Indian devas with all this Indian dress, but definitely they were devas. The difference with the leader was, whereas most of them looked normal with the facial features, the leader had this bright light emanating from his face. There was no eyes, no nose, no mouth, just a bright light. And then they looked at me, and I looked at them, and then when I looked at myself, I appeared just like them. So then I woke up. Then I realized they were trying to tell me that they accepted me as one of them.